Hi. Just want the top of my eyes, right?
Hi, Joe.
Hello, how are you, lovey?
Good, how are you?
Good. You got some prints ready for Sunday, Amber? You have to turn your microphone on.
That better?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, no, why do I need to bring prints on Sunday?
It's a good idea too.
Like old prints?
No, just anything that you have any questions about for entering yourself.
I don't even think I'm going to enter this year.
Really?
Unless there's a miracle in the next month. I just don't think I can.
Surely you've got some stuff you can pull out. You can enter stuff that's up to 5 years old this year, I think.
Oh, really?
Well, should we ask Sarah? Is that correct, Sarah?
Yeah, 1st of May 2016, I think, is the
Just go
cutoff.
through your archives. Amber, you've probably got shit tons.
Okay.
There you go. There's the first gem of the night. I can't bring myself to enter old work though. I feel like I've moved on, you know?
Yeah, it's weird, eh?
Yeah. But I think that's lots of people do enter the old work and works, you know, they do well with it.
Yeah, because sometimes with Iris, there's definitely been times where with that same subject rule,
Yes.
like you just end up within 2 years, like you kind of might have quite a few good shots from something and then...
Or a few good shots from one shoot. I find if I do a creative shot shoot, just, you know, with Iris in mind, I've often got one for this year and one for next year, you know. Although this year you can enter the same subject as well, as long as they're visually different.
Yeah, that's right.
It's quite different, eh?
Oh, it's a changing world.
Yeah, it fucks with my head a little bit, but there you go.
We were going to talk about what's visually different. We had an entry that had two that weren't considered visually different. So, yeah.
Was it mine or not mine?
Who's talking?
No.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, good.
No.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, you can use the same model, but it really needs to be quite a different concept, not the same concept, not the same costume, not the same makeup, not the same, you know, it needs to be a whole different,
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like that rule actually. I like the proper version of the rule with no same subject at all, because I think it just forces you to think a little bit more clearly. And I like all the rules actually. I like the 2-year rule as well. I hope we bring that back next year.
Yeah, we left it, you know, last year was unlimited because of COVID. And this year we thought there were a lot of photographers who still didn't have a chance to travel, or so we left it so there was a bit of a gap.
I think that's wise for this year, especially for the wedding photographers, because so many of them just got really shafted this year.
Yeah, it's been tough for a few people, so you know we want to be a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, we did a similar thing for accreditation where we expanded the time frame for entries, just because, you know, so many, particularly the wedding photographers and the commercial photographers, they did get so many things bumped.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I recognise the top of your head.
I do have a whole head.
There you are, Joe.
It's a better look to have just half of my head, I think.
That's better. Oh, I love you. Is that velvet behind you?
It is. I'm doing my Jacinda routine of sitting in my bed.
I was going to say, nice couch.
Yeah. Be high, wouldn't it?
Hey guys, was it supposed to be 7:30? I might be running quite late. Sorry.
No,
8 o'clock. 8.
Okay.
You're perfectly on time, Simone. Hello.
That's bizarre. First time ever.
Yes, Sarah.
Yeah, well, you're lucky because last week I was really upset that I forgot the 8 o'clock time, and then I realized I was a whole week early.
Good one, Jack. I see you've got your peaches in the background.
Yeah.
So cool. What's the other one, Jack? What's on the other side?
That's that one is the what I call the Gursky 2, Lake Taupo 2.
Yeah.
So I was on a call the other day, and someone said, "Oh, was that a frame I bought from the warehouse and didn't put the pictures in?"
Rude.
So I said, "Have you heard of Iris Awards?" They said no. So yeah, I didn't really have anywhere to go after that.
I just your lampshade's reflecting in it, so I couldn't see what it was.
Oh yeah, it's 2 grey squares. It's not very exciting.
Right. Do you think that we should kick off?
Is this about everybody? Is this who we were expecting?
I think so. I've just got one more person wanting to come in. We'll just keep adding them as they come. Hang on one sec, guys.
It's a whole new world, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. I've got my camera turned off because I don't know what my internet connection's like because I'm sitting out in my new studio.
Ooh.
Exciting. Nice.
Did
I
you get
know.
your desk out there?
No, I've got a laptop plugged into an Ethernet cable, but I just don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like because we have so much trouble inside, and it's normally better with my camera off. Plus, you don't want to see my ugly mug anyway. So we will.
We're all allowed to turn our cameras off?
Yep.
Excellent.
If you want
How
your
do I do
cameras
that?
off, you can turn them off.
No.
But if you're putting your hand up, we can't see you.
Yeah, I'm just going to lean into the camera. I'm going to go the other way.
Oh, yay.
I'll join.
Good work.
I'm not shy. I've got no voice, but I'm not shy.
So we've got quite a few people here tonight who we've invited along to answer some questions. If you've got any questions, please just post it in the chat or turn your camera on and put your hand up so that we can see that you're trying to get our attention. We've got a few of the Honours Council members here tonight, so if you've got any questions about the rules, you can ask those, but we'll kick off with a few questions which are about the actual process and stuff for the Iris Awards, because I think there's a lot that sort of happens in the background as far as scoring goes that people don't know about. So I have got a few pre-prepared questions. If I can just get my iPad going. Okay. I saw Tony Carter here somewhere. Tony?
Hello.
You there? Could you explain the process of a challenge when a score comes up in judging?
So that's the automatic challenge.
Yeah.
So yes. So as far as I'm aware, it's when the average score is more than a 5-point difference. So with that, when you have an automatic challenge, well, I suppose when you're judging, you're sort of wanting to, for the judges, they're wanting to make a point about wanting to score a print, in a high zone. So if there's a more than a 5-point score difference, then it gets challenged, and then that judge gets to be able to talk to the image and see if they can get the score up into a zone that they're happy with. So yeah. So is there any questions about that?
What about if it's sitting on 79 or 89, or does it happen on 84 as well with when it's on the cusp? What happens then?
Yeah. So when an image is a point away from going in, going up from from silver to gold or bronze to silver, the judges then asked to sort of reassess where they're sitting with that. When you're 1 point, away, it's something that we have to sort of come to an agreement, hopefully, on whether the print goes up. Being so close. So again, when you're judging images like that, it pays, for the judges to try not to sort of sit, that close to scoring it in the next, set of points for gold or silver or bronze. Yeah, so it's just when it gets really close like that, then it's time, for the judges to say what they think and try to get the 3 out of the 5 judges at least to come up into bronze, silver and gold. So that's what's about.
Tony, is it correct that when an image is judged and then they have if there is a challenge and then it's rejudged, and in the second judging it ends up on a 79 or an 89, there is no further discussion? You simply have to decide, is this a bronze or a silver, or is it a silver or a gold? And everybody rescores.
Yes, that's right. So just when it gets that close, just like what Tracy said, that's when hopefully the print can go up into the next higher award.
And I think it's fair to say the judges are always trying to, from my experience and what I've seen, they're normally erring on the side of trying to be more generous than unkind. I find the judging tend to go more on a positive. Would you say that's fair?
Yes, I think the judges are always, looking for the best in the images to do that. But when you've got 5 different opinions there, it's the way it's judged is, I think, is a very fair way of doing it. Just having 5 different opinions and then the scores averaged out. And if it's getting that close, I think a lot of the time it definitely goes up. That's what I like to think. If you're that close to giving it a gold or a silver, I think I think most of the time it would go up. It's a great system, and your judges are very positive when it's getting close to the next level.
Oh, just a reminder, if you've got any questions, post them in the chat or put your hand up so we can see. I'm not very good at watching to make sure no one has their hand up, but just get our attention and we can ask it.
Simone's got a question.
Yes.
Simone.
You're on mute, I think, Simone.
Yeah, I was. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple of questions. One question is, in an in-camera category like nature or wedding in camera or documentary, are we allowed to flip the image like we can when we're in the dark room?
Okay, if it's in a purist category, which the only one in there still is documentary, that's a no-no. In camera, normally it's been a no-no because that's not how it comes out of the camera. That's quite a manipulation, and sometimes that gets picked up on, the writing is back to front, or you see somebody's, and it gets picked up by judges. Would you agree, Tony?
Yes, yeah, that's right. It's just something you have to be very careful, and with the purist categories, I think you've got to have that honesty of how it was captured. So that's.
I just need to clarify this because I'm in a couple of groups where people are really asking this, especially in things like in camera, like the portraiture in wedding. They want to have an image of a person that was looking this way, and they feel in the dark room, they can easily just grab a negative and flip it the other way. So they feel that that's okay. So I just have to be double clear that that's not allowed.
That manipulation wasn't done in camera, even in a dark room. That's done in the dark room. So in camera means how it's shot in camera.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that's it. Okay, cool. Thank you. It's good to know.
Yeah. Can I just chime in? So yeah, long term, as a pro, ethically flipping someone like that, you're changing the person's face. It's not actually representing them. I think that from a sort of slightly sort of ethical sort of point of view, that person's eyebrow is now on the left, it's right. It's sort of, I think that's what's one of the pointers, but yeah, I think we've covered it. Yeah.
So Tim's asked a question here. Oh no, Simone, have you finished? I'm sorry, I just cut into you. I think you had more questions.
No, that was really good. Thank you. That's really good to be able to say yes or no to the groups that are asking questions.
Yeah. So Tim had a question about, about the 5 points. So yes, Tim, that's a challenge. Some of the automatic challenges, Tony, was it correct? They weren't done last year because there were so many images and so much judging that some of that, it was only 10 points that the challenge happened.
I think so, yeah. I mean, last year seems like a bit of a blur to me, if I'm totally honest. But yeah, I think that was right, yeah. But yeah, the 5 point rules, it's been around for a long time before that. And yeah. I think it's pretty clear how that works, with your if the 5 judges are getting it close, then it's time to talk about it, and hopefully get it, nudge it over into that high award. So
yeah, I think there are a lot of things about last year's awards that were quite different to anything we've ever done, and it was a one-off, unusual scenario. So some things went by the by, and I think that was one of them. So if you saw some oddity, if you look back at last year's judging, you will notice that it was only 10 points that there was a challenge taken. A lot of those 5 points weren't challenged.
Right. Okay. Simone did have another question which you had posted in one of the groups, and I wrote it down because I thought it was quite good to mention here and a good one for the Honours Council to answer. So Simone asked if the judging would be like last year, where you won't see or hear the majority of the images being judged. So last year, in the majority of categories, only one image went through to live judging. So could the Honours Council explain the process for this year with digital and print and how that's all going to work together?
Yep. So last year, everything was digital, and we had so many thousands of entries that even with only taking a couple of images from every person, which we thought was a fair thing to do, it still took us, 9 days? I mean, it was just a horrendous amount of work. So this year we're back to live judging. We only have 3 days. We can only take X amount of entries. After last year's judging, we had 50% of the membership saying they wanted digital images to be able to submit, and 50% said they want to keep it print awards. We'd love to keep it the Premier Print Awards. That's what it's always been. It's very expensive to run that, so we've allowed the digital as well. So if you enter a print, it will automatically go to live judging. Yes, it's more expensive. Yes, it's more work, but that's the way it's always been. If you want to enter digital awards, digital images, they will, if we only have a small number of them, they too will go to live judging. We'd love everything to go to live judging. But if we end up with thousands of them like we did last year, there's no way we can do that in 3 days. So what we're going to do is then have a pre-judging. And unlike last year, it won't be a couple of images from each person. It will be the highest scoring images that will go through to live judging. So from the highest scores down, which means that some people might get all the images go to live judging and some people might get 0. But this is the best of the best. And we would love to see the very best go through to live judging. So that's what's going through. Does that answer it? I know that sounds a bit tough, but yeah. Anybody got questions on that? Feel free to ask.
I do have a quick question.
Yep.
For those people who perhaps don't have images that go through to the live judging, will the judges be trying to give them a bit of feedback in the pre-judging?
Yeah. So one of the criticisms last year was that some images didn't get any critique. So every image will have a critique this year that goes through, you know, that gets judged, and they can still win awards. You know, you might still get a bronze or a silver or whatever. It just means it won't go to the live judging if it doesn't score high enough to get through. And the cutoff will simply be by numbers. You know, we will take however many we can fit in after the prints. We're not expecting huge numbers of prints. It's been tough on some photographers as far as financial costs go. So there probably is quite a bit of room for digital images, but the numbers that we can take and the ones that will go through will be the top percentage to make up the numbers. Yeah.
Jack asked if what the important changes are compared to 2019 for this year. So not worrying about last year, but from 2019, Tracy.
Okay, I will just go to my little notes here. Give me 1 second. Okay. So the important ones are the fact that we have print and digital, which is, we've never done this before. So it's a bit of an unknown and it's a bit scary. But the update on the nature category. So in the past, nature has been a very purist category and you virtually couldn't do anything to the images. They were pretty much straight out of camera. It's now gone into the non-composite, which means that you could fix blown highlights, or you could, you know, do some retouching to bring it up to the sort of level that the Australians are allowed to retouch their images, or the World Photographic Cup nature images are created so that we're more in keeping, more in line with theirs. Last year, you could enter unlimited images. This year, you can enter 20 images. Normally, the maximum is 10, but we're carrying on being generous this year, so 20 images. And normally, last year, we had the images could be as old as you want them to be, any age at all. This year, there is a 5-year cutoff. They have to be taken within 5 years of the closing of iris or the opening of iris. And the print costs have been significantly dropped to try and help people in the printing side of things. Previously, it was up to, what was it, Sarah, $75?
95 for a non-member and 55 for an accredited.
And now it's
38 for accredited and 58 for a non-member.
That's a big drop, which you know, we're appreciating that it's very expensive to do prints, so we're trying to make it a little more cost effective for people. I hope that answers. Is there anything else, Ian, that you can think of, or Cherise?
Did you say about the print size?
The print size has changed, sorry, yes. It was 26, I think it's come down to 25, excuse me. I've had, yeah. It's 25 centimetres now on the longest side.
The minimum, yeah.
Yeah.
And we are having this year continuing that accredited members get one free entry. So you just on the entry platform, there's a code for accredited members to put in when they enter their award images, and that will take that price off the total, so we don't have to refund people. Just following on from entering, Cherise, could you explain the process for, one of the questions was about the print handling fee, who has to pay it? Could you explain a bit more about the print handling fee and how that works?
Yep, so if you're entering prints, there is a print handling fee for I think it's $110 for a set of 10 prints, and that just gets added, the cost gets added to one of your print entries when you enter. So you just see that added onto your final bill just before you enter there.
So if you enter digital, you won't get billed for the print handling fee. It's only if you send in a physical print. And if you're entering a physical print, you still need to go to the online entry platform and enter your image through that way, and then send your print afterwards. Another question was, can we have brands on clothing in our entries?
That was a real issue last year. We had a rule in there which was, Shah, you're familiar with this? That was kind of accidentally put in there, wasn't it? In the commercial category, saying that we couldn't have any branding at all. And it caused a real issue with sports people trying to photograph in documentary and things. We couldn't. Yeah,
it did.
We removed it, didn't we?
Yes.
So it's not in there this year. So that came about there, there was some concern about if an image was very controversial and it was using somebody's brand, that company might get a little upset. But what it did was, especially in the documentary category, it almost eliminated 90% of any sports images. So we removed it, and it's not in there now. We would just like people to be sensitive to the fact that if they are putting an image with branding in it, that they're not going to overly offend that enterprise or that company.
There's another question here about, was the overall trend for photos to score higher when they were live judged last year than the photos that were judged preliminary?
Okay, so I don't think that that when an image is judged online, last year we had groups of judges, they were live judged. But when the images are prejudged, we have to send the images out to each judge. They don't get to correspond with each other. They score individually. So when you've got people scoring individually, it doesn't, you don't get that maybe one person saying, oh my God, did you not see this? And that's the beauty of live judging. And it's impossible to do when you have thousands, and every competition around, whether it's the Silver Lining Awards or any of those awards, they are all online awards. You don't get that opportunity for judges to challenge and to carry on. That's the beauty of Iris, and that's the beauty of the live judging. If you have 5 judges judging an image in prejudging, and 3 give it a silver and 2 give it a bronze, it's still going to average out. But if that went to live judging, you might get one judge who goes, oh, I think this is better than a silver, and they talk it up, and the discussion happens and the frenzy happens, and it ends up being a gold. It's almost impossible to do that in a prejudging. So we can't do anything about that. We simply cannot take that many images to a live judging. Unfortunately, we're bound by time constraints of 3 days.
Yeah. Joe's also asked if there's an expectation that prints are likely to score higher than digitals.
I think a good image. Tony, do you want to talk to this? I think a good image will win out every time, regardless.
I think a great image will speak in both ways, print or digital. But I think if you really believe you've got something special, then finishing it off with printing and making sure that it's going to be judged in front of judges. Printing's the way to go. I know some people that might be looking at doing both, entering some prints and some digital. So maybe testing out the images they're not sure about completely with the digital, but the ones that are really confident that they can do something beautifully printed, because printing does add a different layer to the image. It's that, with the different paper stocks and things. So just think hard about what you're doing. And I mean, I think that the pricing is really good this year for prints. And to guarantee you're going to be, you're going to wow the judges in Nelson. So just think about it. But a great digital image, a great image is a great image, no matter which way it is. All the judges have judged lots of competitions online, here and overseas, so they know what they're looking at, and if it's great, it'll do good either way.
We had all digital judging last year, and we had gold distinctions and golds, and great images come through. So I have a question regarding, this is Mike, regarding the 2 landscape categories. Can a stitched image, i.e. panoramic, mosaic or authentic landscape scene, be entered into the in-camera category, or because it's not a single exposure, it automatically must be entered into the open? I'm 99, I'm not a landscape photographer. I'm sure they're in open, isn't it? I don't think it's changed. It'll
just be, you need to check the rules around composites and non-composites and where stitch panoramas sit, because there was some discussion about where the stitch panorama sat.
So yeah, landscape in camera isn't in camera, it's non-composite. It can be a diptych or a triptych, can be aerial, non-composite. So I'll look at the beginning. About the skies, I will check. So open landscape in camera. So it's a non-composite. So restrained use permitted: in camera capture, direct capture to Polaroids, plates, in camera multiple exposures, focus stacking. So no stitching. No. So the answer to that is no stitching.
So it needs to go into the open.
Yeah, it would have to go into the open category.
Great.
Are you sure? I wonder if you're sure if that's just an oversight in the rules and they meant it to be, but it's just not stipulated.
I don't think so. Once you start,
like a stitches, it's just in camera, kind of, really, or it's. What's the difference between a stitch and a focus stack?
Well, a focus stack is, you know, there's a lot of cameras today that do focus stacking in camera without ever having to.
There's also cameras that stitch as well. I don't think it deviates from the spirits of the rules, if that makes sense. I think it's an oversight, I suspect, rather than it's not. Might be something worth discussing and coming back to people.
Okay.
I don't know. What do people think? You know, like a Sony handheld will do a stitch in a camera, an iPhone will do a stitch. Like, I don't see how they're really different a focus stack to a stitch, to be honest. What is the question?
That's good. Okay. Well, we can discuss that one and get back to you.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point, Roger. I think stitching, I mean, it's different to composite where you're taking, you know, potentially photos taken in different locations and putting them together, which is not really reflecting the reality that the photographer perceived at the time. So, you know, certainly I would encourage this to be looked at least for the future.
Okay.
Yeah, fair comment. Yeah, no, you put it that way. Yeah. At first of the discussion, I thought stitching, that is limited to people who own those equipment, so you need that sort of equality. But again, like you said, if it's the spirit of it, it's the same time. So it's a good point. That's something that we didn't in the finer details. Yeah, so that's something positive to go forward.
Thank you for that. We will look into that and yeah.
I just wonder, Mike, that asked the question, if you could perhaps private message on the chat or send an email to honours@nzipp.org.nz with your email address so that we can answer that. We will post the answer in the Iris Awards group and on the page, but just so we can directly answer that for you. Simone had asked a question, with the in-camera entries, can selective brushes be used in areas of the images like shadows, for example, so that they can make adjustments, just not globally?
Yeah, you can dodge, burn, lighten, darken. What sort of brushes are we talking?
The question that I got asked was shadows. And also, I had one of the girls ask me about textures. She's wondering, in Lightroom, there's a texture brush, and she's wanting to take the texture away from an area. So I didn't know, because I know you can do things like shadows, but I didn't know about the whole texture thing.
Yeah. So that's in portrait or in?
That was in documentary.
So documentary is a purist category. Yep. So no, you wouldn't, no texture removal or anything in documentary. Documentary is pretty much as taken. Really, you know, you're cropping, sharpening, lightening, darkening. You can't hide anything, reveal anything. You can't, you know.
Right. So they can't do anything like tone things down.
You can tone it down so long as you're not disguising anything. You know, if you darken something to the point where you're hiding something, then that's not in camera. You know,
so they have to be very careful when they're doing documentary, but they can be a little bit more selective if they're doing things like in portrait or something like that.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah. In camera portrait, it's a non-composite, so it's a little bit more lenient.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, removing textures, yeah, that's starting to get away from in camera.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you. Can I just ask one while I'm here? I might as well ask one more question because I've been asked it anyway. There was the question in, where was it? It was not to do with me. In Nature, it was the in-camera multiple exposure new rule. It says something with frames captured in sequence.
Yeah.
And they didn't know if that meant, if they've got number 14, 15, 16, if they're going to capture it in sequence, it meant 15 has to be straight after 14 or something like that. That's what they mean?
Yeah. So you can take a multiple exposure. Some cameras allow you to take a photograph and store it on the camera.
Yeah.
And then go away and a week later take a photograph and grab that and drop it in. That's not an in-camera double exposure.
Yeah.
So, but if you're photographing an apple in front of you and then the pear next to it, that's, you know, that's an in-camera double exposure. But if you're going to store images on your phone and a week later or days later or a month later add it to something else, that's not an in-camera as far as we.
Can they do it in the same shoot within, say, 20 minutes or half an hour or something like that? Because there will, I can imagine there would be images in between. I don't know. Is that what makes sense?
Yeah, no, that sequential means that if you take an image of this, the very next image that you're going to lay over it is the one. So
okay, cool. So they can't take an image 5 images later as a double exposure. It's got to be immediately afterwards.
Yeah. So they're taken as a
Okay. Thank you.
That's what sequential is about.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Joanna had asked, as a first-time entrant with prints, so she entered last year digital, but it's first-time entering prints. Can someone explain about submitting prints and using boxes or cases?
Okay. You can, if you don't have a box, you can purchase one from Sean Dick. We've got the details in the call for entries. They're very affordable. So when you can fit 10 in a box normally, and we prefer that you put tissue or something between them or stack them face to face so they don't damage one another. Was there something else and they need to be couriered down to us, and inside the box you need your entry details and your proof that you've actually don't need proof of payment now, do you? It's all you can't enter if it's not paid. Shall I help me on this?
They'll need the return address label if it's being couriered back. I'm not sure if you're printing those out. That's what we did previously. And if you need to include a USB with your files on it as well.
And on the back of your print, you need to print out and put your entry detail, which has your barcode and everything on it. Not your what's the word for it, Sarah? We now have
code.
Yeah.
QR code.
Yeah, there's a printout for every entry you do, and it will be stuck to the back of your print.
And just remember to print them on good quality paper, because if the paper is of not a great quality and the barcode is really soft, it makes the equipment very hard to read the barcodes. So just make sure that you've also got ink in your printer. We had a few people get caught out with their printers running out of ink and they couldn't print their forms and things out. So just check those well ahead of time.
Sorry, I just missed before. Tracy, did you cover where you could get the change now that we can't get the print cases and we need to move to the boxes?
Yeah, we haven't been able to get a hold of Chris to see if he can do any more boxes. I believe that he's not doing them anymore. So Sean Dick, we've contacted him and he is doing them. And his details where you can purchase them and how much are in the call for entries.
Cool, thank you. Someone else has just asked a question about the expressive category. It's encouraging physical entries, but the work has to be completed and potentially re-photographed for the online entry close of date, which is so far away from the print deadline. Is there a way to update the online entry file later?
Good point. I guess really because they're not going to be judged online, you have to submit a physical. You could put an image of the incomplete item and say it's still in being finished. This is as close as I could get. Because it's really about being able to identify it. you would probably then have to submit a completed photograph with your USB when you send that down, because when the image comes up for judging, live judging, it will be projected up on the screen and the audience need to see the image and they need to see a completed photograph of the image. So probably a completed image on your USB would be important. Otherwise, the audience will struggle to see what the judges are looking at, especially if it's an incomplete image.
One of the issues when we were setting up the online, well, not the online, but the online system, we did in the last year in the digital entries, we had put that you could change your image after you'd entered it. So when we went to set it up this year, Tracy said that there was an issue with it last year and it would charge you twice, wasn't it? Or it would say that you hadn't paid for that entry. So that's why we can't get you to change your image once you've uploaded it for Expressive.
You kind of can. If you upload your images and you don't pay, you can change them. But the minute you pay, then that image is locked in there. And if you try and change it then after you've paid, then it will the system will recharge you, and we can't, that just causes nightmares. So if you think that at the you're going to change an image and you don't want to put the final images until the last possible minute, you can put images in, you can change them up until the last minute. But the minute you pay, then that image is locked in. So if you think you might change something between when you want to enter it and the close off date, don't pay for it until the last minute or until you're sure that that's the finished image.
Joe had asked if you entered more than 10 prints, do you have to pay the handling fee twice and use 2 boxes? Charisse had said yes. If you enter more than 10 prints, you will need another case and there's another print handling fee. So if you're still using the old plastic print cases, they only hold 10 prints anyway.
And the same with the new ones. Yeah. And those print handling fees cover courier costs and all kinds of things. So storage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just if you've got any more questions, feel free to post them down the bottom. I had some questions written down for some people who have entered before that I thought might be quite cool to hear from them. So Craig Turner Bullock, Tim Lomax and Emma Steele. Could you tell us about the most memorable image that you've seen at the awards and why it was so memorable for you? Who's going first?
Tim's going, there were so many.
Who do you want to go first, Sarah? Like, who are you asking?
Sorry, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to have my wine poured and look at the screen. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted by my little waiter bringing me my stuff. Emma, can you go first?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right? Is that
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, you're right. There's so many. Probably the one that I really loved was the one of Tony's that had the cat in the hedge coming out of the hedge in the landscape. That was one of them. And then I really loved Jackie Rankin's one that she had actually with the wax over it. Was that 2 years ago? And obviously that would now be in the different probably category, I'm thinking. Yeah, I really enjoyed those images.
It was at Tony Stewart's.
Tony, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, That was, I think you got was it a gold in the landscape for that one? Can't remember, but it was
cool.
The hedge, and it had come out and there were birds everywhere. I thought that was great.
Yeah, Tony Stewart's.
Yeah.
I'll try and find these photos and I'll post them in the event, the pages for these events, so that people can see what images everyone's talking about. Is Craig Turner Bullock there?
No, I don't think he is.
Might have dropped off. I did see his name earlier. Tim.
Hello. Oh, there's so many images because I sit there and watch every category, but I think last year Jackie Rankin's Tokyo Cityscape, where she did the multiple exposures, I was obsessed with that print. Wish I could take something that good.
It was amazing, wasn't it? What about Nicola Williamson? You got a print that's really memorable for you? She dropped off too.
Can I just jump in and tell you a couple of my favourites?
Yes.
Okay. Who specifically, I don't mean to embarrass Tony Carter, but I think it was his. It was an amazing cemetery scene, and it had all these bunnies, and it was in mist, and it was like really, really dark. And I think it was Tony's, but it just completely blew my mind when I saw it, and it just did my head in. It was just incredible, and I was just like, oh my goodness, that is just so what I would love to capture. So spooky and cool.
Cool.
Amazing what sticks with you. What about who else have we got here? What about Joe Francis? What's your most memorable image that you've seen?
So, okay, I have three actually, and you're all here. One of the ones that blew me away at the time, and I still think about it regularly, was Simone's Swans.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved that one. And it was just glorious in print. I'm glad I got to see that as a print. One from last year that I think was really outstanding was Amber's Orchestra photo. I think that was just mind-blowing, and so such a clever idea. It blows my mind the ideas other people come up with. I could never have thought of anything like that. And one that made me just I'm not a dog person, but there's a photo that Tony Carter has of a man being licked by a dog that just really moved me. Yeah. So those are three that have stood out for me over the years.
And what about you, Tony?
Me? I'll just end what I've done.
Hey?
There's plenty over the years, and that's the thing. I think you store them away in your visual library from 20 years ago. I can name images, but probably ones that have really stuck in my mind from last year was Jackie's Tokyo image. That's something that really resonated with me for that category. But there's just too many really, and I think that's the beauty of these awards is you do take it all in, and when you're shooting yourself, you sort of find yourself using things. I even remember when I travelled to India a few years ago, and I got travel photographer of the year with that. Even when I was shooting over there, I still had images of Mike Langford and Jackie Rankin inside my head. So they definitely those images stay with you, and the people sit on your shoulders, and you learn so much. That's the beauty of going along to watch the live judging, isn't it? That you do soak it all in, and that makes you a better photographer. Just watching the judging, and it's amazing what you pick up that you don't even realise until a year or two down the track.
Yeah. And Janine, what about you? Oh, can we hear you?
You can now.
Okay.
Yeah, look, I was really privileged to judge Amber's visual symphony last year, and I felt and to go into bat for that was really, really exciting. But a different one was Roger's best ever photo of the Wanaka tree. It's a fantastic. It was a wee while ago now, and it's the best of its genre, definitely.
And what about Amber?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
I think the most memorable image for me from last year was Richard's Mother Nature lady. Just the intricacies of all the detail that was in it, and it was the way it was so sort of cleanly, beautifully lit. I just got totally lost in that image, and yeah, the more I look at it now, the more I see in it. I think it's really magnificent. It was a real standout for me.
Oh, I see there's a question from Shah about screens.
Yeah. Will the winning digital entries be able to be viewed on a screen like the print gallery of award images in the Trafalgar Centre? And I can probably answer this one for you. So the plan is that thanks to Panasonic, we have two 65-inch TVs out in the gallery to display the digital award-winning entries. We've also had a printer supplied by Canon and paper by Ilford, so that if someone does enter a digital entry and their image is awarded and they want it to be printed, it can be printed, and Edges Art and Framing will be there ready to mount that print so that it can go up on the wall with the print entries. So there will be a cost associated with that, but it just means that it's not flicking through a screen with the rest of the digital. It is actually up there to be viewed in person and have a tangible item at the end of it. So we're really lucky that we have Trafalgar Centre's very big, and there's a lot of room for us to be able to do that and offer it in great support from our sponsors. So yes, they will be displayed.
It's fantastic.
Printing cost will be a minimum, won't it? They're almost doing it at cost. It's,
yeah,
I've been told it's very well priced.
Yeah, we want obviously we I think as an organisation really appreciate print, and we want to encourage people to print, and we want them to see the that it's not often as expensive as what people might think it is. So if we can offer it sort of at cost, you can see just how affordable it is to sort of do it yourself. And yeah, it's nice just to, I think if you haven't printed before or don't really know what to do, digital's definitely seems a lot more appealing, but to actually see that print and have that arrive back and see your work printed is just something different.
I think Amber had a question.
Oh, you got in.
Sorry, no, I was just saying you had a question.
Oh yeah, just how will the digital images be judged? Obviously after the print images, but any that do go through to being judged, will they be on a TV screen kind of in front of where the judges are sitting, or what's the process for that?
So they'll be viewed on a single screen. So the judges will get up, walk up to the screen and look at it just like they would a print. So
like
all
a computer
judges
screen?
will be, or will be viewing it on one screen, not different screens. Yeah.
Cool.
Which way is the organisation going to go between prints and digital? It seems to me that if you're digital, if you got the money and you pay for a print, it's a slight advantage because you'll go to the live judging. And the other point, I suppose, is many's the time I've got a something on screen looks great and you go to print it and it comes out looking terrible. So there's a whole nother step between digital and printing. And I understand why you've done it, but it seems like a bit of a compromise in terms of your ethos, if you like, and it's a bit sort of muddled and confused, and as if we're at a crossroads. Which way are we going to go?
We are at a crossroads, and next year we hope to have that resolved and answered for you. We have something in the pipeline, but we can't say just yet.
Did you want to, Tracy, even maybe mention that about the survey that we did after the digital awards and the findings from that, and how that led to this year?
So last year, Kay sent out a survey to membership, and it was pretty much 50-50 split. So it was very difficult to just say, oh, well, we don't care about those who want digital, or we don't care about those who want print, because they're all members. And this year we've just tried to do what we can to accommodate what we can. But we understand that that does need to be resolved. And this year might give us a bit more of an answer as to what that's going to be, that answer is going to be. But we also have, it's not something that we want to gloss over. It's an issue that we want to resolve.
So you're going to resolve it by a vote, or how's it going? What's the mechanism going to be?
Watch the space. We do have something in pro. It's just
fair enough. Yeah,
I can't actually
That's all right.
talk about it just yet, but yeah, it will go out to membership. Yeah.
And surely Nelson will give you an indication of what people are going to do anyway, isn't it?
It will help. Yeah. I think as an organisation, and keeping in line with AIPP and World Photographic Cup, I think print is still our preferred way to go. It is, it's always been the premier print awards, and I think as professionals, that's something that is part of our business. But at the same time, we don't wish to neglect those who wish to go digital. So we're working towards compromise.
So if we get a situation where the membership, well, a majority say go digital, but we feel a lot of people feel that it's print is where it's at, what happens then? How do we resolve that?
Yeah, we will have to have that hard discussion. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Eventually all those old people will die.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yes, sooner rather than later, maybe.
If you want to enter in Australia or anything, you still have to enter print. You can't do digital.
I suppose
any of those you have to enter print. So, we'd like to stay in line with them, but yeah, we are working towards a solution for the digital workers as well.
Good on you, Tracy.
Tim's just said, would that possibly be a separate awards show where Iris stays print based and something similar to Silver Linings equals just digital?
So we'll
watch this space.
Just say no comment.
Yeah.
No comment.
Yeah.
Okay, I had a few more. No one else has asked questions. I've got a few more questions for the people I asked to join us tonight. I was wondering if who's here? Hang on, I've got to look. Maybe I didn't ask Shah, but hopefully Shah might be willing to answer this, and maybe Michelle Fay if she's around, Janine and Amber. What advice can you give to first-time entrants? Shah, could you go first?
Sure. I think for a first-time entrant, I think it's just go ahead and do it. Just try it. Just back yourself. Try not to look at what everyone else is doing. Just focus on what is what is your point of view and what's authentic in your work. If you don't try, you won't learn, and it's an incredible learning experience regardless of whether it scores an award or not. The knowledge and the experience that you'll gain from that is just incredible, and you'll find that the more you do it, the more you challenge yourself, the more your work will grow, and the more your point of view will come through as a photographer. So if you're a first time entrant, just take a leap of faith and just do it. It'll be the best thing you've ever done.
Thanks, Shah. Michelle, are you there? Maybe not. Janine?
I am here. It's just on mute. I was just hiding on mute.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. As if I still remember the first time I entered and I absolutely shat myself, and the rules drove me completely bonkers. I think I read them about 50 million times just trying to make sure I had everything right, but do it because it's amazing.
Thank you. Janine, are you there? Are you there? I can see you.
Yes, yep. Look, I totally go along with the other guys. It's about being brave and giving your work a chance and breathing some life into it. My other advice is to kind of start collecting ideas early. Now I know we're fairly late in the piece now, but I'm sort of maybe talking about next year. But and live with them for a bit if you can. Print them and hang them up on the wall, and then put them away and come back to them, and you'll get a bit more of a feeling for what's going to fly or what you're happy with when you do that. And don't write off something that seems a bit dodgy, because a lot of my stuff's pretty dodgy. And you know, a different edit or it could be an idea for later on. So I have like big, you know, folders of photos on my computer. I have notebooks. I've got just loads of ideas. So, and curating those ideas is really important, and looking after them so that you can bring them to life later on. But having said all that, and being brave and all that, it really does pay to get the basics right. And so keep going back to your work until you're feeling 100% with it, because it's a bit hard to get sort of obvious faults past the judges that could have easily been edited out, or 2 steps to the left would have made a big difference, and you know, vastly improved your work. So yeah, those basic things are important too. Hate to say it.
Sarah, can I add something?
Yeah.
I know the first year I entered 10 images and I got 1 bronze, and I had never been to an Iris Awards. I entered having never watched, and when my images came up, or when I first started watching, I thought I've entered all the wrong stuff. I entered images that I thought my clients would like. Now I enter images that I like. It's got nothing to do with pleasing my clients. It's about, I enter things that I'm passionate about. And I think that shines through, and that's how you get your own personal voice. You put in what is about you and what you like photographing, and what gives you the buzz. And those are the images, for me at least, that have always done much better than, yeah. Because what a client wants is often with a brief, and it's not necessarily that creative. It is sometimes, but on the whole, I think if we have the freedom to just do whatever we want to do, that often flies better. That's my experience anyway.
Thank you.
Could I just chime in, because I deal with first entrants on a daily basis. We generally give the advice, you know, safe stuff will get safe marks. It's generally a chance to take a chance sometimes and really express yourself. I find if stuff that wins awards, if you want to win awards, stuff where we take a chance where it will either fly or it won't. You just have to accept that. And also, quite often you do have good work, getting a second opinion or just a second set of eyes, just saying, no, you're not nuts, do enter it. I think a little bit of, and I've given some advice lately, generally sometimes you're better than you think you are. And so you have to back yourself sometimes. You may go crashing down, but I think it's, as long as you go in with your eyes open and, like you said, look at what's happened in the past, what people have done, what the standard is like. As long as you're playing in the same sort of league, you're okay. And also, if you're going in thinking, I want to find out, you don't want to be going in thinking as a first entrance. I mean, I say this to students, go in and get your work seen, get it judged. Does it stack up against other people's work? If that's a high professional standard, awesome. You know, that's saying where you are in the industry and it's accepted and it's good. Anything above that is a cherry on top as a new entrant, someone entering for the first time. So that's kind of advice I give out to students and other people who are entering for the first time, and show people and take whatever they say with a pinch of salt.
Thanks, Ian. Amber.
So Ian just basically said exactly the two things that I was about to say.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, just totally reiterate that. So about sharing some of the things that you want to enter with people, what I do, I have a secret squirrel Facebook group of just a very small number of people whose opinions I really value. And I share my progress work with them, and they give me really honest and critical feedback on it. And I find that to be really helpful, because sometimes when you're in the process of developing something, you might just be really stuck on one aspect of it, and they will see something that you don't see straight away, or you've just been looking at it for too long. So I find that to be a really helpful process.
It doesn't mean you're wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
you just need a fresh pair of eyes to see something you just didn't see.
Totally. Or sometimes just turn it around upside down. You might see it. The thing that I've found to be the most helpful in all the years that I've been entering IRIS now is to go along to the judging, and just go along, like, don't be too don't have like your whole heart in your image, because sometimes the images that you are most connected to and that have a really deep meaning for you, the judges just might not see that, or there'll be something in it that that hurts you when it gets talked about, when it's judged. But try to use IRIS as a real learning experience, and try not to be too emotionally invested in it. The number of people that I've heard after judgings haven't gone their way say, oh, I'm never entering IRIS again, and blah blah blah, and then have a year to recover, and then it's all okay again. Yeah, just try and not to be too emotionally invested.
Thank you. You just mentioned something that I think if people are new would be a really, really good tip. Do you want to talk a bit more about turning images upside down?
Yeah, well, I think it's just a compositional check, maybe. Sometimes when you're working, particularly if you're retouching something a lot, I think you just get too close to an image. So like often I'll go away for, I don't know, have a cup of tea or something and come back and with fresh eyes. But sometimes looking at it just in the same orientation isn't enough. And if you turn it upside down, it gives you a totally different composition to look at. And, composition kind of works both ways around. So it just allows you to see something different.
Retouching as well, you'll find where the annoying highlights are, or the imbalancing of things. And occasionally, if it gets really hard, if it's not black and white, flip it to black and white, and then you're only seeing shape and form and tone, and those sort of things stand out. And balancing, if things don't work upside down in black and white, they're not going to work, sort of thing. Yeah. Lots of upside photos at you, Cole, just saying. Lots of upside.
I quite like that, the upside down thing. It's one of the first things that I was taught a long time ago. If you flip something upside down, basically you're just looking at the form of it, and usually the problem area is the first thing that hits you in the face. That's what I sort of find with that, and it's how I was taught to tip it upside down, and then usually whatever you're drawn to is the problem area if you're having a problem. So that's quite a good trick to do, really. But I also think just to remember that I remember going to the IRIS Awards 20 years ago and seeing that the big name photographers that I'd never seen before, and just after a little while you realise that they just put their trousers on one leg at a time like anybody else, So don't be intimidated by anybody. Everybody's just, we're all just people. And with your images, if you're unsure about it, you know, reach out to somebody and ask what they think. But at the end of the day, always go with your own instincts, because that's be true to yourself. Another thing I sort of find with images, even now, sometimes if you're trying to get something out of an image and you're doing it till you're blue in the face, then leave it alone and come back to it. Or maybe that image is just not worth it. If it's that hard to get it where you're trying to go, maybe it's just not right. So it's just all those little things, but also just always have a really good look at your older files, because you can go back 5 years now, I think it is. Just keep going back and looking through your work. As you learn more tricks, go back, look through your work, and just make sure there's not some, you know, little gems there that can be cropped or, you know, brought up. And it's amazing what you find in your older work sometimes that you've missed. Especially with digital, you know, back in the day, someone was saying before about pinning your photos to the wall. You know, now we just have them all stashed on our computer a lot of the time. So sometimes, you know, they're just put away and then you just forget about them altogether. So have a good old hard look at what you've got, and yeah, have a go.
Thank you.
Roger, did you have a question?
No, I was just going to add my 2 cents in, but it's probably been done. I guess I was just going to say, in terms of just reiterating what Janine had said, in terms of getting the basics right. You know, technical things, for me, it's often blending things, but, you know, almost have a checklist of basic things like focus, tone, if you like, dust spots, blending stuff. So, you know, if it's your first time, it's the basics that you want to get right, and everything else is the cherry on the top. Second thing I'd say is you've got to be in it to win it. And the third thing is, look, you know, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. It's only a photo comp at the end of the day. It's a, you know, you still go out and take pictures and do what you enjoy doing. Keep it all in perspective. It's a learning experience. I mean, you know, you're going to lose some, but you're going to win some if you stick at it. And most of you probably will. So, you know, and actually to have some of the knocks before you get some of the awards isn't a bad thing either. You get to appreciate it a bit more. So yeah, just do your best and enjoy the whole thing, really. That's all my comments.
I've just got one more question for a few people. Tony Carter, Tim Lomax, Joe Francis, and Roger. What do you remember receiving your first gold and what the feedback was? And so if someone's looking to get a gold, what does it take to get to that level?
Shall I go first and then I can?
Yeah.
I don't think I was there when I got my first gold. So maybe I should talk to that. I'll talk about a gold I remember. What I remember was my heart beating in my chest. That's the main thing I remember. It was 2014 actually, and I think the one I remember was a multiple exposure I'd done of Skipper's Canyon, and I think Jackie Rankin talked it up because she knew the area and hadn't seen it taken that way before. You know, and you see something coming at a high silver score or silver distinction, and then they talk around it, and your heart's beating. Yeah, it's look, I mean, I do a job that's stressful in other ways, but I mean, it's probably, you know, when your image is up there and it's being talked about, and it might go and you just don't know, and they're having the conversation, it's one of the most exciting things in a way. It's a mixture of excitement and probably a dangerous adrenaline rush. But more than anything else, I guess when you do get a gold, it's quite a nice vindication that you haven't wasted your time for the last X many years. You're actually doing something that's useful, and you know, it's it's good on that sort of level. But they are, look, they're hard to come by. You know, I think it beats winning a competition in another area. It's a recognition amongst your peers. And I mean, I had a stage where I got quite a few golds, and then I didn't get any for a long time. And so you realise that it's a really special award. That's, I don't know what else to say, really. Yeah.
Thank you. I can't even remember who I asked to speak. Tim.
I can attest to the heart beating. God, it's like time stops. I think my print started as a bronze, and then it was an automatic challenge because Mark was up at like 93 or something, and he had clicked on to the story I was trying to tell. And funny enough, it was an image I nearly gave up on, and I only got pushed by my tutors to finish it. They're like, no, go on, like you've got the idea, finish it. And so in that moment when he started talking it up and he started clicking onto the story that I was trying to communicate to the judges, I think that was really rewarding. And then they rejudged everything, and it came through as a gold. And it was, yeah, I guess that validation that they saw what you were trying to put across. I think it ultimately speaks to either a concept or communication, or usually technique that shines through. So I think it's kind of like something where the planets align, like you have to have those things to come together. And I also think there's a bit of luck to it too, on like who's on the judging panel, and you know, sometimes people just miss, I guess, the communication you're trying to put too. So I think it's like lightning in a bottle, really, but really rewarding when you do get it.
Thanks, Tim. Who did
You
I
asked me too, Sarah.
Joe, yeah.
Yeah, so I think a lot of what Tim said resonates for me. There's definitely, I definitely remember my first gold. It was a breastfeeding photo, and Mandy Lynn just talked to that. And I think it spoke to her because it was quite an unusual take on a breastfeeding photo. And I think that a lot of the golds I've seen, there's been an element of originality in them, which I think is, you know, quite necessary to elevate something from a silver to a gold, is to have a picture that's actually not just a really nice version of something that we've all seen lots of times, but is actually original. Yeah, definitely your heart pounds out of your chest. I know for myself, I had to go outside and have a wee cry. I was very emotional about the whole thing. Yeah, pretty much what Tim said about, you know, there is definitely an element of luck. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't think any of the golds I've ever got would be what I would consider my top pictures. I've definitely taken photos that I thought would do better and didn't do as well. So I think that's what someone said before, that you've got to be in to win. And I think you've got to chuck enough photos in that, you know, you get the swings and roundabouts, the ones that don't do as well as you hope. There's others that might do better, and you can kind of have a bigger picture about how you've gone. So yeah, very exciting to get a gold. I'd like more, thanks. Keep putting it out there.
Tony, did I ask you?
Yeah, my story is probably a bit more long-winded than that. When 20 years ago, or 2000, the year 2000, that was when I first won Photographer of the Year. So pre that, for about 4 years before that, we had a young family and we didn't have much money, and we were starting off our photography business from working part-time doing something else to stepping it up and then going into a full-blown studio. So for for the 4 years or so before 2000 was just about trying to make a living and bring up a young family. But all of that time, I knew I had something in me to produce personal work, and I was watching the trends even back then and thinking, oh, I can do that sort of stuff, or I know I'm sort of up there. So it got right away through to 2000, and then I had enough money to enter and not be taking money away from my family. So it sort of built up, and I just worked very hard back then. You know, it was toning black and white prints and coming up with different colours and just, so I produced a body of work that I got a gold and 3 silvers of distinction. So that was something that I worked really hard for and had no idea how good it would be, and was never thinking about winning anything. It was just more about producing something that was the best that I could do and was a part of me. So that's you know, turning up at print judging in Auckland, where a lot of it's already been judged, and just seeing it on the wall with a gold thing on it or a silver of distinction. Yeah, so that for me is sort of my start into doing that type of work. So I wasn't really a learner photographer at that stage, but just biding my time and doing it at the right time, and doing it for myself and doing the best that I can do, and not looking at what other people are producing. And I think that really is something for your first timers. If you're going out there, ask other people, but follow your heart and have a go.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. I think we're pretty much done. We haven't had any more questions come through. Thanks to those that came and joined us on the panel who I invited and showed up. That's exciting. To the Honours Council, so we've got Tracy, Ian and Charisse here tonight. If you have any questions for the Honours Council, you can email them. irisawards@nzipp.org.nz or honours@nzipp.org.nz. If you've got any questions about the conference, you can email info@nzipp.org.nz. The Iris Awards are being judged live at the Trafalgar Centre in Nelson from the 26th to the 28th of July. The conference, the Canon New Zealand Photography Show, is the 29th and 30th of July at the Trafalgar Centre in Nelson, and the gala dinner on the evening of the 30th of July. You can find all the information on the nzipp.org.nz website, which will take you through to the relevant information. Make sure you get your tickets, come and watch the live judging, because it's great that you can sit at home and watch it on the live stream, but nothing compares to being there in person and walking amongst that exhibition and talking to other photographers, talking to the photographer whose print you love on the wall, going out and socialising with them after the event, and getting in amongst all the extra workshops and one-on-one reviews and things that we've got going on at the same time. So yeah, if you've got any questions, just send them through. Catch up with your regional groups. If you've got an Iris Awards critique evening coming up, I believe Wellington are doing one this weekend. It's a really, really good chance to get some feedback. And if you don't know anybody, just contact us and we'll put you in touch with someone, because they'll help you along. So thank you, everybody. And we will see you all again soon.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. See ya.
See you, Jack.
See you guys.
Bye.